Welcome back to Beauty Uncovered by Olaplex. My name is Danielle Frank. I am your host, and may the 4th be with you. Today, we have a special guest. We have Scout Trooper TB 52503 from the 501st Legion Empire City Garrison. And also, just for full disclosure, in a few minutes, we're going to be pulling in Justin Weiss, who is the man behind the mask. But thank you very much for coming on today. I have quite a few questions for you.
Thanks, Danielle. Happy to be here.
So what is your mission?
My mission as a scout trooper in the 501st Legion is to basically make children smile and help raise money for multiple charities and events, and do it all through our love of Star Wars.
Wow. So, I mean, how often are you a part of this? Like, how often are you doing this?
Well, the Empire City Garrison is a very busy garrison, and we have troops just about every weekend. Sometimes multiple troops.
This is in New York, correct?
Yes, Long Island, New York.
All right. So I have to ask because I may or may not have seen some things on social media. How often are you walking into supermarkets like that?
So far, just once. That was definitely interesting. The looks that I get are absolutely priceless.
So do you often do this? Go into like civilian areas and patrol?
There was a time when I got into, my full scout trooper garb and hopped on the back of my Harley and went riding through town like this. Almost caused a couple of accidents because people are like, "Wait, what is that?" And then I decided I was going to go into a local supermarket and just go for a little shopping. And the funny part is, at one point, one of the people that worked at the supermarket actually started playing the Star Wars Imperial March on the phone behind me as I was walking through.
I love it. I love it.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So here's what I don't get. I mean, aren't stormtroopers supposed to be the bad guys?
Yes, in the Star Wars universe, stormtroopers, Darth Vader were all the bad guys. However, the 501st motto is bad guys doing good. And we all base our mission upon what we call the 3 C's, and that's costuming, camaraderie, and charity.
So how often, here's a good question. How hot is it in there?
It gets hot. Not going to lie. There's quite a few layers. There are times I'm sweating completely through my armor. Sometimes there's like sweat dripping from the bottom of the helmet. Yeah, we do a lot of cleaning and a lot of dry cleaning.
How do you clean
that? I missed that.
How do you clean your...
Very carefully.
Oh my gosh.
Very carefully.
Oh my gosh. It seems like a lot. It seems like a lot. So are the costumes, because I know that the costumes are really a big part, obviously. It's much like cosplay. So where exactly are you getting the costume? Because obviously it looks very authentic.
Well, every one of these costumes, in order to be approved and become a member by the 501st, you must obtain a 100% movie or television screen accurate costume, which has already been pre-approved by the 501st. So what you see here is exactly what was in Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
Star Wars. This is an actual authentic biker scout costume. It takes quite a bit a lot of them are built by hand by our members. We have vendors that make the soft products. For example, there's a flight suit underneath and a vest. The armor is PVC and it's cut and sanded and painted. The helmet is multiple pieces. And it's funny too, because it literally is made just like it was for the films.
Wow.
This way, it's almost like, how like Disney, everything has to be perfect. Like all the characters have to look exactly a certain way in order to perform as these characters. for us, it's the same thing. We never want to drop that illusion of these characters being from the Star Wars universe.
So when you're out in the public and you're doing, anything for charity or any kind of event, you're completely staying in character.
100%. The only thing is like, all right, so our favorite thing in the world is to get fist pumps and high fives from little kids. So naturally in the movies, if we were being true to the Star Wars characters, the Biker Scouts and the Stormtroopers and Darth Vader, that they're not nice people. We, on the other hand, are. We pride ourselves on our giant heart. And I have to tell you, like, children and adults all lose their minds over this. Like, it brings out something in them that can't be described. It has to be felt. I've only been a member of the 501st for about 6 months.
Wow.
And in that time, I've done close to 30 troops. And each one is more unbelievable than the next. Everything from attending the polar plunge for the Special Olympics to National Down Syndrome Day and autism. I know this is Autism Month, so we were at a Christmas party for kids and adults with severe autism. And it's just to put the smiles on these people's faces, children and adults, it's a feeling like I cannot begin to describe. I really can't. It's amazing. It's almost like it's like a drug, Once you do that and you make somebody smile and you light up their day, you just want to keep doing it, over and over and over again. And that's what I get out of it, and that's what all these amazing people in my garrison get out. We love this. Every day we can't wait to go to one troop or another.
Well, I have to say, when it comes to the people that we talk on the podcast, it's really about talking about what makes their life beautiful. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to summon Justin Weiss, who is going to give me a little bit of a deeper background on exactly how he got involved, why he got involved, and how it affected his life. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, TB52503, and go look for Justin. Okay, so here we have Justin Weiss, who is my dear, dear friend. And we've known each other since we were 18, since we were 18.
18.
Well, I have to say that Justin's passion for Star Wars is legendary in our friend circle. That and other things, I would imagine it's other like Marvel, right, kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm just like a giant nerd.
D&D,
Dungeons and Dragons, Marvel. It's kind of like a nice escape.
Yeah. But I mean, Star Wars was always your prime thing that you were always.
Well, you and I, we were 6 years old when the first Star Wars was in the theaters. And, it's one of the.
Did you go to the theater to see it? Because I didn't.
Yes. My father brought me to, my brother was way too young. He was like 2 years old. I was 6, and I remember my father bringing me to see Star Wars, and it was basically because he wanted to see Star Wars. Back then you saw something in the theater, it was in the theater for like a year or 2 years, right. Especially Star Wars, because that movie just came in and blew everything up. And I remember I probably went to see it multiple times, like birthday parties, for kids. It was like, let's go see Star Wars.
I forgot that the movies were like that, because I remember seeing like certain movies over and over again. And I remember when it wasn't Empire, it must have been The Return of the Jedi, that it was so hot that summer. And I remember us going to the movie theater over and over and over again to watch it.
I actually had there was a drive-in movie theater
Yes.
in Westbury Drive-In movie theater on Long Island. It actually was like the last living drive-in movie theater, I believe, in the country. Now, of course, it's a BJ's, but I had a friend who lived just outside, just in the development right outside that movie theater. And I remember hanging out with him and sitting on the roof of his house with an AM radio. And we were watching Return of the Jedi with the AM radio.
I'm sure that was one hell of an experience when it comes to viewing pleasure.
Yeah. You know what? We were kids. It was a different world back then.
That's for sure.
It's funny, though.
So, I mean, one of the reasons why I asked you to come on here is partially because again, we talk about, living our best life and really something that makes us feel amazing and wonderful and really enhances something in our lives. And one thing that I have known about you is your commitment to doing charitable works. And I mean, granted, I feel like you really got really into it when you got a bit older.
Yes.
But let's talk about Mom, because I know Mom was a big part of it. And she was one of the reasons why you are so a part of all this.
Danny, you remember my mother very, very well. She was an incredible woman. She really was. She believes very much in community. And, when you get that involved in community, it becomes charity. My mother taught me also that you're not allowed to complain about anything unless you're willing to do something about it. So she would always throw herself into things with both feet. She was very highly regarded in the community that we lived in. She's one of the founding members of the Jericho Civic Association. She was, PTA president. She's just always involved in one thing or another. I'm very proud that that's something that I inherited from her, was that need to get involved in community and charity. You've known me a long time, all right? It's like my drug. It really is. It's my happy place. When I can help somebody and then disappear into the darkness somewhere, it's the greatest feeling in the world. If you make that a part of your life, it just consumes you. You crave it. Yeah. I often tell people I'm selfish. Why am I selfish? Because I need to do this, and I need that thrill or that it's like the dopamine. It literally just fills you with so much. You just want to do more and more and more.
It's overwhelming.
It's
overwhelming for sure. So here's where I want to, because I mean, if you're okay with sharing, because I want to talk a little bit about your journey into all of this, because when I first met you, that was not necessarily your focus. Granted, you were at late teens, early 20s, that was not necessarily your focus.
Yeah. No.
No. Shenanigans.
Yeah, a little bit. There were a lot of people very worried about me.
But I think that with your mom, as we discussed this, that she had MS and unfortunately passed from it, but she also was very, she was incredible. And I think that really did take you on another journey because, when it comes to what she even did before, she was volunteering to test out new products and that might potentially, or medications that might potentially help people recover or go into remission or whatever it may be when it comes to MS. And then we found out that you had MS.
Yeah.
After she passed.
Yes.
That was like, you were in your 30s at that time, weren't you?
I was 36 years old. My daughter was 2. I believe she was 2, maybe 3. No, she was older than that. She's probably about 4. But Yeah, that was rough. That was very rough.
Because I mean, you had to watch your mom for several years go through what she went through.
I will say that like when my mom was first diagnosed with MS, it was just like, mom has MS, she needs a nap. We really didn't know what it was. I mean, even the doctors at the time didn't know what MS really was. It brought out a piece of me because now I felt this, like, I got to take care of my mom. I got to be there for my mom. And I became this, I took on this like guardian role, of taking care of my mom. I was always there for her. She would call and I would drop everything and run. And, of course, over time, she got sicker and sicker. I watched her go from walking with a cane to the walker, to a wheelchair, to finally being bedridden. And then, unfortunately, a few years after that, she passed due to complications surrounding multiple sclerosis. It left a very big hole in me when she passed. She was a very big part of me. And it also, she gave me a great gift in that sense. And of course, I didn't look at it like that then. I look at it now. She gave me this gift of, kind of like realizing life is short, live your life, help your neighbor.
Because you were young when she passed. You were only in your early 20s.
I was probably 25, 26 when she passed.
She was around our age now, give or take.
Yeah, she was 53. She was a little bit older than us. Yeah.
A little bit older. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy to wrap your brain around, right?
It's crazy that we're 50.
Shut up. We earned it, Justin.
I know. Several times over.
I know, right?
I'm just like 50 years old and a giant child.
So when you first got diagnosed, and I remember it. I mean, it was a little bit of a, aside from it being just a mental and emotional blow, and knowing that mom went through all this and everything. What I love is that you kind of turned it into purpose. Going back to what you were saying about watching your mom when she was young and really seeing, how she really, you can't complain about it unless you're doing something about it.
Exactly.
So we were all working towards doing Team Phoenix, which is amazing. And it was something to raise money for MS.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about starting that journey, because that was kind of fun. And why Team Phoenix? Because I mean, I still refer to the Phoenix as part of my talisman. Yeah.
Well, the Phoenix has kind of been the one big symbol that you and I share the most. Mm-hmm. For me, all right. So here I am, newly diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, the very disease that stripped my mother of her entire life and eventually killed her. I needed to gather my strength and rise above. So I remember, the first step was we went to a walk on Long Island for multiple sclerosis, the MS Pooch Parade in Belmont Lake State Park. It's pretty cool. Everybody's there walking and they all have their dogs. And, really was a great walk. A bunch of my friends, I believe you included, all, gathered at this walk, and we were all walking together and we're laughing and having a great time. It's such a beautiful surrounding there. It's literally like, at some point you're like walking through the woods and around this beautiful lake and over bridges, and just really was a fantastic event. And, as we're going, we're passing by all these signs, which is they're put there to recognize the individual teams that raise money for MS. One of my friends shouts out, "Hey, Justin, we need a team." And, so the rest of the day was spent coming up with the most vulgar team names we could possibly think of. At the same time, here I am, newly diagnosed, and I'm kind of looking for, something that's going to be, I wanted something that was going to be a symbol that, I didn't want to be the symbol.
Right.
I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about something that, people could get behind. And I've, again, being a giant nerd, I've always been, into mythology and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, wow, what better representation than this rise than a phoenix? So Team Phoenix was born, and we went in ways and journeys and directions that I could never have fathomed at that time.
And the amount of people that you've met, the amount of people that you've interacted with, and
incredible.
It's amazing. And I know that, sometimes I think that you don't give yourself enough credit. Like you touch so many people.
It's not about credit.
But understand it's also about telling your story, telling your mom's story, and how it relates to you. And that really makes a lot of difference. But I do know that you drew inspiration from all of them as well, which is pretty huge. I think that when it comes to doing charity or just showing up, and I think that I'm hoping that a lot of people can take from that lesson. Sometimes showing up, even if it's just showing up, can make such a huge difference.
Well, someone once told me that people don't necessarily follow causes; they follow people.
That's true.
So when you're out there and you tell your story in an inspiring way, you're going to heal others and you're going to heal yourself. So that's very much what I did. I went out and I was telling my story and I was welcoming everybody, and Team Phoenix just grew and grew and grew. And over the years, I think we've raised more than $200,000 for the National MS Society. And they were wonderful. They were so good to us. Like they flew me and my wife to conventions to speak about team building and motivation and stuff like that. And I went to Texas. We went to Colorado. That was interesting. We went up to Vermont. We were doing couples retreats. We're trying to help people, as a couple, because one of the biggest problems people with MS have is MS is an invisible disease. Like, you look at me, you have no idea that I have MS. If you ever saw me go to work, I'm a workhorse. I don't stop. You would never know that I have it. People forget all the time that I have MS. And every now and then I shut down. I have to slow down. And, my wife, she learned that. She knows that. So the MS Society would send us out to talk to couples to be like, okay, here's both sides of it.
I also imagine, even for Nancy, the perspective that she has, because, not to take away anything that you're going through and the difficulties that you go through, but it's also really hard for the spouse as well to be a good support and to be understanding, and then pick up the slack sometimes when you're going through things.
Absolutely. And it's, it's funny because in a lot of cases, Nancy is just amazing. Really putting up with me in general is amazing. But then take me with, multiple sclerosis, and, that's a whole nother level. Yes. But many of the unsung heroes of not just people with MS, but all kinds of disease are the spouses. Very often, a major cause of divorce is, believe it or not, when one or the other spouse gets an illness. An incurable illness, one that's going to affect their entire lives. And I understand it. This is not what they bargained for when they first got married. They say in sickness and in health, but that's easy to say when you're up there and there is no sickness.
Right.
Then all of a sudden the sickness comes and, this is not what I expected. Nancy is a complete, amazing woman who, not only puts up with my nerdhood, but
And dressing up as a stormtrooper.
Dressing up as a stormtrooper. She actually helped me to get dressed before I came on camera. So yeah. So
let's dive into a little bit of all this with the 501st and everything, because I remember when you were first getting into it, which I was like, what on earth is it? Like, part of me was like, what on earth is this man getting into it? I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense.
Why hasn't he done this sooner?
I know, right? So when was the first time that you heard of the 501st and when you started going, I want to actively pursue this?
Yes. Well, okay. So 2011, a little more than 10 years ago, I ran into the 501st for the first time at New York Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
It was Comic-Con. It was the first time, believe it or not, the first time that I ever been to Comic-Con. I dragged a friend of mine kicking and screaming. He didn't want to go. We had the time of our lives because it's just ridiculous.
I've gone to a Comic-Con only once. Only once. I went to the one in Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah, fun. I brought the kids, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, even if you're not into it, it's like the greatest people watching you could ever do in your entire life.
I got to say, Gunnar was about 5 years old at the time, maybe 4 or 5 years old. It was the first year that we moved here, and we got tickets for Wolfgang, Joey, and Gunnar, and myself, of course. And I made a costume of Toad from Mario.
Oh, from Mario.
Yeah, made him the big genie hat. And
he probably looked amazing.
And everything.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that wanted to take a picture with my him. Beautiful little 4 or 5 year old. And then literally there's this huge center, I don't know what you would call it, but there was like escalators, like 4 escalators that are going up and down. And here I am watching my son, and I must be a terrible parent because I'm sitting on the balcony watching my 4 or 5 year old literally going up and down this escalator over and over again. And people cheering him every time. Like they're just cheering him on because there's this Toad going up and down. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing ever.
It's a weird culture.
No,
but it's so much fun. So much. And you know, like they have this thing with cosplay and costuming. You know, you could be whatever you want. You know, it's something that will take you out of reality for a little while and put you in a place that's safe. So yeah, it's like comic books, movies, video games, anything you want, anything and everything. You know, it's a lot of fun.
So after seeing them in 2011, and then get me to where you are now. Like,
all right. So
what was it that actually made you suddenly go, I have to pursue this?
Well, my love of Star Wars, number one.
Well, yeah.
First and foremost. And seeing these guys and seeing them dressed as, I mean, perfect stormtroopers, Darth Vader. You know, it was just amazing. You know, I thought this was the greatest thing in the world. So I picked up one of their cards that day, and I remember going home and going on the computer, and I was looking up what they were. And I was astounded at what this organization really was. I mean, here they are. They spend thousands of dollars on their costumes and put them together and go out and attend charity events. And even at New York Comic Con in 2011, they were there raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and that's their biggest one, Make-A-Wish Foundation. I mean, what's more perfect than the Make-A-Wish Foundation for a group of guys to dress up as stormtroopers? You know, and then you hear about, okay, they were on, you know, this movie set because they needed stormtroopers, or they showed up for this parade because they wanted Star Wars to be present there. And all of a sudden, like, they're appearing everywhere. Now that they're in my radar, they're just everywhere. Every event that I go to, I started going to the little, you know, Comic Cons. Like here in New York, we have Eternal Con, Winter Con, all the charity walks and stuff like that. No, there they are. And every time, like, you know, my friends are making fun of me all the time. It's like, they are.
You were fanboying, weren't you?
Yeah. And I'm like, hey guys, how you doing? That's awesome. How'd you make that?
Did you
One of
ask
my
for
friends.
autographs, Justin? I mean,
Yeah, but like
work.
I had a buddy of mine who's like, you keep harassing the 501st, they're gonna make out a restraining order against you. And for so long I wanted to do it. At the time, I owned a landscaping business, and that was very, very consuming. It just the time wasn't right. It just wasn't right. I always knew that I wanted to do it, but I couldn't get myself to really put that energy into it, which you do have to do. Putting together your first costume, a lot of energy goes into it. It's intimidating.
Is it because you have to find a maker, raise the money, or is it just
the smartest path to go down, which is the path that I did, was to go to the 501st website. Mm-hmm. They have a listing of every costume that's approved for the 501st, and you have to kind of select your first costume, which is intimidating for any Star Wars fan. That's intimidating.
Why is it intimidating?
Because there's so many. Do I want to be a stormtrooper? Do I want to be a scout trooper? Do I want to be a snow trooper? Do I want to be Darth Vader? Do I want to be a bounty hunter?
So can you change your mind at some point? Can you choose something and then later on go, you know what?
Many of the guys in my guys and women in my garrison have multiple costumes.
Ooh.
Multiple. We have a guy who's got Darth Vader and now Din Djarin, the Mandalorian from the Mandalorian team.
Ooh, I like.
Yeah, he walks around with Baby Yoda. And, we have guys in the garrison that literally put together costumes.
Do they have Boba Fett?
Yes, they do. Not the new one.
Not the new one.
Not the new one. I believe that the new one has been deemed a good guy.
Oh, is that really bad though? To have
be a member of the 501st, it is, because we are bad guys doing good. We have the original.
I don't know. I feel like the new Boba Fett could be a gateway.
But are you kidding? I could be Dad Bod Boba Fett. No problem. This is perfect. I don't have to. I don't have to worry about my weight. Could go out there with a little bit of a gut. I'm okay. Perfect. Perfect.
Dad Bod Boba.
Dad Bod Boba Fett.
I think this needs to be like a hashtag now.
Dad Bod Boba. I think it already is.
There you go. There you go.
I don't think I own that, but yeah, I'll take credit. That's fine.
So, I mean, okay. So you got in, you were getting the costume and everything, but I'm assuming there's an application process, or did they approve you, or is it just something that they're like, you apply, you show up, and that's it?
Yeah. Well, once you get your costume together, you actually have to send a whole bunch of pictures out to the 501st. They have a specific group of people that will judge and approve your costume.
Wow.
And that process takes a little bit of time, because everybody in the 501st is they don't get paid for this. They're volunteers. Everything 100% volunteer, 100% non-for-profit. They don't make, even you see the shirt that I'm wearing. Only members of the 501st can have these shirts. We don't sell these shirts, and we pay for it for our own money. The people who design these shirts do it on their own time. Everything 100% clean, non-for-profit. So it's a big process. So I remember we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but the whole process for me was I sent in all these pictures and I waited, weeks, and then they contact me and they're like, all right, looks good, but I need to see a picture of the butt flap on the back of your flight suit, and I need to see a better picture of your gloves, the back of your helmet, and the back of the armor, and this, that. So you end up sending more pictures in. They're like, all right, I'll take a look and I'll get back to you.
Wow.
And then they get back to you, and then you get that final email. It's like, congratulations. You're now a member of the 501st Legion, Empire City Garrison, TB52503.
I remember when you announced it, and I swear it was like you won the freaking lotto. Like
felt that way.
It was like, I don't know if it was like winning the lotto or graduating, with your doctorate, or like, I've done it. I did it.
Been a long time coming.
So I want some scoop. All right. I want to know, I've watched a lot of your posts, and you've been showing like going to different events and everything. Now, as we all know, I mean, there are kids watching, but there's also adults. And some of the stories I can only imagine that come out of it, because I know that even as adults, we kind of geek out on those things. I know you mentioned that you were on your motorcycle,
yes,
riding around on it, and it may have, caused some issues in traffic. But what is your funniest memory of doing an event of some kind of interaction?
Well, it's like I said, I've only been a member since October of last year. I've done near 30 troops, and every troop is completely different. For me, because I guess the 501st has their annual troops that they do from one year to the next. So the ones that get me the most are like, for example, we did a troop for children and adults with autism. And we went to their Christmas party that they have. And we showed up, and these kids and adults lost their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seeing us was the greatest thing in the world. And I had this one, I want to say he was probably a teenager or early 20s. He obviously had severe autism, and the DJ was playing music. And I remember this kid took my hand and he held on to it like really, really hard. Like, I mean, losing circulation in the fingers through the glove, but he was dancing, and I was dancing with him. And he just refused to let me go. And I thought to myself, this is a great moment. This is obviously wants me there and is going to dance with me. And that was awesome. Recently, we had Down Syndrome Day at Roosevelt Field Mall. And this was a moment that got everybody. There was this little girl there, younger than 2 years old, with Down syndrome. And there was like 7 of us, Darth Vader, shadow troopers, stormtroopers, me as the scout trooper. And this little girl, like she was afraid, like she wasn't going to come near any of us. And the mother put her down, like right in front of us. And I'm one of the few troopers that can actually kneel and sit, because most of them with the plastic armor, they're very, stiff. So I kneeled down and put my hand out, and this little girl looked up at me, and she walked over slowly, and she just fell into a hug on me. It was the most adorable thing in the entire world. And then she's going around. She went to each one of the troopers. She hugged Darth Vader, like grabbed him around his neck. And my friend Mark is dressed as a sand trooper. He's got the pauldron. And the little girl like wrapped herself around. It's amazing.
It's adorable. You would think a kid that's under like 2 years old or somewhere around there would be a little intimidated by the bigger in life. You're talking about a girl that like ran away from Goofy when she was 5 years old, like literally screaming at the top of her lungs.
Goofy at age 5. Goofy at age 5 is, I think, a lot scarier than a stormtrooper, because he's like 8,000 feet tall when you're 5 years old. And you're like, that doesn't look like the cartoon.
Infamy in my family. Like, they still don't let me live it down. I was 4 or 5 for crying out loud. But I think Goofy's out there like, hey, Danielle, Goofy's over there. Oh, stop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. My heart starts to race a little bit. I'm not.
Still to this day.
I think it's like
childhood trauma.
I don't know.
The trauma. Childhood trauma.
Childhood trauma.
Affecting you, and now that you're 50. Unbelievable.
So if you could communicate anything out of all this, right? Because like I said, I've watched you for many, many years now. I've literally known you my entire adult life.
Yes.
And I have learned many lessons from watching the things that you do. What not to do and what to do.
Yeah, well, I'm just there paving the way.
Paving the way.
Paving the way.
What can you communicate to people that in all the things that you do when it comes to charity and to volunteering and showing up, what would you want to communicate outwardly to people?
It's hard for me to communicate like any real one thing. I mean, I do it because it feels right. I do it because it's fun. Do you think that the fun aspect makes it more
easy to get involved? Because I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes when you hear something going on in your neighborhood, something going on in your community, and they're saying, "Oh, get involved," and either donate or show up, and you're just like, "Oh my God, that takes effort."
And it does. It does. Okay, so when Nance and I were running Team Phoenix, and we did that for 10 years, it was like another job. Mm-hmm. We were putting together big like fundraising events in bars and well, you remember the trampoline place like that?
Yes, I remember that.
Oh God, that was actually a lot of fun. But it was a lot of work to put all those events together and then to promote them and get people to show up. Once you do that and you get that good feeling, it kind of like fuels you. It's like you can't wake up in the morning and not have your coffee.
But do you think it's about finding, because I mean, again, you ran Team Phoenix for 10 years, right? And you did a lot of different events. And yes, obviously some of them were things that just appealed to you, but yes, nothing to the level of what you're doing now.
No.
So what I'm saying is there a difference for you when it's involving something that you truly feel excited about, something that is like a childhood fun thing?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that people in general, maybe they need to start looking for things that also are of interest to them? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And there's so much out there, but how does the world become a better place? Well, when everybody helps everybody else out.
Right.
And it's not like one of those things, they also say that like, you should teach someone to fish as opposed to giving someone a fish, so there's that aspect of it too. People that have their hand out will have their hand out forever if you're constantly filling it. Mm-hmm. You have to find that fine line. I get involved in the events, for the charity of it, to help out, to make people smile. And I love the idea of doing it behind a mask, because I'm anonymous,
It's also entertainment. You're entertaining.
Oh, well, come on. Let's face it. All right. Here I am as, a kid, 6 years old. I just saw Star Wars. It changed my whole life. All I'm doing is collecting action figures and playing with action figures. And now I am an action figure.
I mean, I could see that. I could see that you're, even knowing you as a young adult, like that would be like the ultimate fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So here's the thing, dress up as a Star Wars figure and do good things for charity and community. Mm-hmm. It feels like it was tailor-made for me. I live for it. When I find out that, at New York Comic-Con last year, we raised like $5,000 for, Make-A-Wish Foundation. We raised, $1,000 for CP Nassau, at an event. $500 for Special Olympics, whatever it is. I just love that we're able to do that, and we do it with such a way that like, I mean, there really is no way to describe it. Star Wars is part of American culture, regardless of whether you like it or not. It's one of the biggest things there has ever been. And, we're out there representing this in a positive way, raising money for charity and raising awareness to the events that we attend. And it's just, it's so enlightening. It's so fulfilling. I love it. I want to do it for the rest of my life. There is no end to this. If I get bored at what I'm doing, the greatest thing in the world is I get another costume and I'm another character, and then I could keep on going with that. It never ends.
Well, I want to remind all of our listeners that I think that there is a great opportunity here. And if you want to find out what the 501st is up to, 501st Legion, you can do that by going to 501st.com. And also check out their social media platforms because they have a lot of different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And also, if you ever do go to an event, maybe say thank you because they are volunteering and they're doing some great things. And I'm going to leave it at that. And I just want to close this out. Aside from the fact that it was really fun getting to hear from my friend and talk about all these great things. But I also want to dedicate this wonderful episode in loving memory of your mom, Marilyn Weiss, and all the mothers raising children to do good in this world. Thank you for coming on, Justin.
Love you, Danny.